Hey everyone, welcome to the pilot episode of the Tanuki Bros podcast. On this episode, it was our first time recording together, and we have a few issues with our camera quality and audio quality here and there, but we still had a wonderful time together. We hope you enjoy as we start our marathon of the animated Lord of the Rings series. Welcome back to the 500th episode for the Tanuki Bros podcast. If you haven't been watching, today we're going to be covering the Hobbit cartoon, the Hobbit animated movie that came out in
not the book.
Not the book. You're not covering the book. Hey, there's an episode on its own. We're going to be covering the 1977? Yeah, Hobbit animated movie. If you didn't know, the Hobbit live action films that came out back in 2010s, that was not the only Hobbit movie that came out. There was the animated Hobbit movie that came out first, and it was aired on TV. But yeah, that's what we're gonna be discussing today. I gotta say, Adam, I'm loving the beard look. The whole vibe is very luscious.
Full Erebor beard.
How long did it take you to grow that beard?
One click of Amazon. Yeah. Now, I will tell you this though. I have collected some Hobbit stuff that I will show you.
Okay.
One is the Hobbit laser disc.
It seems like that laser disc is wearing the ring, if you know what I mean.
Oh man, it's like totally just okay. Give me a second.
It's so cool. No, you should do it. You should set that as your background.
Wait a minute. Do you have the laser disc for the old movie?
Yes, I was saving it to show you guys.
You should keep it in the background.
My background. Hang on.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll link the picture. I'll link the picture in the video.
None. There it is.
Look at this. That is awesome. So is that the soundtrack or is it the movie?
Officially the old laser disc.
Laser disc. Yeah, like VHS. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just, but it's laser. And then here's the best part. It's got like the background. It's got a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that is so cool.
And everything. Yes.
Oh, I actually like that artwork. That's pretty cool. Okay, so my item I'm sharing today for the Hobbit, I've got from the live action movie, the Key to the Kingdom here. I actually also am wearing the necklace of the same thing. So yeah, that's my item for today. That's awesome. Isaac, do you have anything to share?
This is my copy of the book. I got this actually one of the first actual books that I read.
Oh,
so it's from it's got all the old illustrations in it.
That's sweet.
And I didn't even know this till just a few minutes ago. But I left my 3D glasses.
I love that
ticket from the.
I still have those somewhere.
Yeah, I was.
That's super cool. You know, I'm regretting I completely forgot about it until you popped up that book because we played it around the same time. But the old Hobbit Game Boy game that we had. We used to have, it was a Hobbit Game Boy game, and it wasn't based on anything except for the book, but that was my first probably major exposure to the Hobbit story was the Game Boy game. It was like Legend of Zelda, but you replaced Link with Bilbo.
That was one of the Sierra Entertainment, which made King's Quest and a bunch of those old adventure games. That was one of the last games they made because Lord of the Rings had just come out. And
they were wanting more content, I think.
Yeah, and so Lord of the Rings was done, and they was well, what else can we make? So they made a Hobbit game. Although the GameCube one was not very good.
Yeah. I've heard the GameCube one wasn't great, but the Game Boy one's great. I at least from my memory.
But we're not talking about the games.
Oh no,
we're
crap!
Talking about
I also have the Sting Sword as well.
Oh yes, show off the sword, my friend.
If I put it up too much, it'll disappear like the ring. So let's just.
So, on this podcast, though, we're going to be talking about just a handful of different aspects of the film. So it's not just going to be did you like the movie or not? It's going to be We're gonna cover the soundtrack, animation, everything. We'll kind of go down the list as we go. But just to give you anybody who's never heard of The Hobbit before for some reason, this is the general description from IMDb. Let's go through this. A homebody hobbit in Middle Earth gets talked into joining a quest with a group of dwarves to recover their treasure from a dragon. what I like about that description is
that's a movie.
Yeah, what I like about the description though is they don't tell you what a hobbit is. They're just like, it's a hobbit. They're like, you should know what that is already if you don't know what that is. I just thought that was funny because the film's called The Hobbit, and it's like, what is a hobbit? It's not like, yeah, he's like what they are.
I think it's funny too because they say talked into.
Yeah,
that's how the book goes. But like the movie, they just like pretty much kidnapped that kid. Like they're just like,
yeah,
you're going with
okay.
us.
So why don't we start there then? In terms of things, that was something in terms of actually I guess we could
you know, they do say. And also, I just read the other day, it says mental health experts recommend everyone just take the day off to chill out and watch the old cartoon version of The Hobbit.
Yep.
So
there we go. That's
kind of what we're doing.
First film that everybody should have watched during quarantine. It's like, oh man, guys, we're locked in. Time to watch the Hobbit animated films. I've been waiting for this.
Actually, I looked at the article and the man said he read it and he was eating a box of cereal and he started feeling better about life. I was like,
sounds about right.
Gotta happen right now.
Okay, so little bit of history about this movie, and I waited to share this with you guys because I don't think you knew. So the movie, and you probably when you started the film at the very beginning when it's talking about like they pop up all the logos and stuff, it said Rankin Bass. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same company that did like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and stuff.
Oh,
I never knew that. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I was digging into a little bit more because I'm like, okay, I'm like Rankin Bass. So they helped make it, but obviously it's not claymation or anything, which is like the famous Rankin Bass thing that they always did. So I'm gonna read this little portion to you guys because and this is from like Wikipedia and other places, mostly Wikipedia. But there was the animation company Topcraft that helped make the film, and they actually did the Nausicaa Studio Ghibli movie.
Oh, really?
And yeah, this is super interesting. So it's they worked with Rankin Bass to make The Hobbit, and I believe they helped make the Return of the King one as well. And it's not exactly Studio Ghibli, but people pretty much consider it like the precursor to Studio Ghibli because Studio Ghibli didn't exist at that time, I don't think.
Oh, wow.
And so they said that essentially the company, the Topcraft company, went bankrupt, and then like the guy that was over Topcraft or whatever ended up leaving and then starting doing Studio Ghibli. I think he was like the first, to my memory. Yeah, he was like he was the first manager, and like ton of the animators from Topcraft left and then went and worked at Studio Ghibli, and like they pretty much started doing Studio Ghibli. So they said like the details for it's are a little bit muddled of what happened, but it sounded like essentially the company, even though they went bankrupt, they were like encouraged to like keep working on things. So then so it's an odd connection between Studio Ghibli and Lord of the Rings. I was like, I never knew that. But then I also, when I researched that, I also did not know that Rankin Bass also helped make Thundercats, which is like really yeah. So apparently Rankin Bass had like other connections there. I was like, I did not know that. That's maybe something to discuss on another episode if I dig deeper in that. But I was like, that's super interesting. But yeah. So let's go ahead and we'll jump into our first topic. So first topic we're going to talk about is what our memory was of the cartoon, like our first time watching it. Before watching it now, had you ever seen it before? And like, what was your memory? Adam, you want to go ahead and start with that?
Yes. So I had seen it before, a long time ago when it was on, because it would be on like the same time like Charlotte's Web would play every now and again on like Saturday.
Oh, so like on TV.
On TV type thing.
Okay, that's cool.
So I, honest to goodness, every time it would come on, I literally, I've never shared this with you guys, but Bilbo, for some weird reason, I thought Bilbo had this hairdo the whole time. Like the way he sketched.
Bro,
So my
hey,
memory of it was that he had this like Hansel and Gretel type,
yes.
vibe going on with Princess Leia. I thought he had that hairdo the entire time. And every
Okay.
time I always thought as a
Yes.
little kid, I kept thinking like, why did they
Okay.
give him that hairdo? Which
That
now
is-
looking at the animation, I'm fine. I see it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I literally used to think that that's what his hair was supposed to look like.
Yeah. See, it's hilarious because that was like literally one of my first notes as soon as we started the movie. I literally wrote down Bilbo looks like Princess Leia.
Oh, really?
I literally wrote that
I
down.
literally thought that since I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so okay. We'll get into character designs later, but like Bilbo's design, that was like something that always got me. But yeah. Isaac, what about you? What was your memory of the movie?
I think you and I think we saw it at the same time because my understanding, we saw it at the library, and we had heard of our, Adam and Chloe and Anna talking about it, and then we went to see it, and then we turned it on, and we got through like up until the part with Gollum, and
yeah,
and
I was gonna share that too. Yeah, so
yes.
To my memory, because you and I watched it, I think at the same time.
Yeah,
we got it. I think it was from the library or Blockbuster.
I'm pretty sure.
And I got scared. I think I was only like 7, maybe. I got scared of yeah. I might have been younger, maybe 5. I don't know.
Yeah,
I got scared of the part with Gollum. And then I didn't want to I didn't want to watch it. And then by the time I like got the courage up to like, I'll watch it. No, I'll watch it. It was too late because Dad was like, oh, we got to return it this evening. So I never finished it. So like, I remember seeing like pictures and clips of the end of the movie and then being like, oh man, like I never got to finish that movie. So that's something that like I waited because I knew we were going to review it. I was like, I'm going to wait to watch it again until we review it. So I have like a fresh response, but like, it was one of those things I always regretted, like not finishing it, but I'm going to come back to like the part with Gollum because like rewatching it, I was like, oh, maybe I had a point as a kid. I'll come back to that.
It only took us 20 years to finish that movie.
I know, right? Yeah, only 20 years.
I literally last night, I actually watched it last night. It was like 2 a.m.
Oh, time to watch the animated Hobbit.
I literally thought it's actually pretty fresh. It's been less than 24 hours since I've seen it.
Cram your homework before the test. Yeah, some of those drawings and sketches. It's like when you see it as a child, you're like, oh man, it looks scary, and then later on, you're like, oh wow, that's. Gollum just looks like Ducky from Land Before Time.
Do we want to talk about the designs a little bit?
Yeah, so I was gonna say let's go ahead. Instead of talking about the animation, let's go ahead and move on to the character design first because we were talking about Bilbo a little bit.
I got something to say.
Yes,
the dwarves.
Oh,
it's like they all have tumor foreheads. It's like what's going on with the dwarves? They look so freaky, and they're like. And it's like
they're all
I know.
so that's what got me. They're all so old.
I agree. I know they make them like really old, like everybody's, and then they're like old and cranky.
Yeah, I was surprised because I was like, man, why are they all old? And like, the one character I like my first note on there because he's the first character to show up aside from Bilbo was like Gandalf's design looks exactly like the I can't remember his name, but the wizard guy from the old Santa Claus Rankin Bass movie. I'm like, it's the same exact design. And what's really weird is he's got this weird design where he's got like eyebrows that connect. He's got like a unibrow. And then the unibrow comes down and it goes into his beard. And you're like, yes. Is the point that he's just like really, really hairy? Which is like, it gave off like Ice King from Adventure Time vibes a little bit. I was like, oh. But yeah, that was one of them. Some other ones I put down as
about that.
I mentioned that Thorin feels really old. Another one that was the trolls. The troll design was really odd to me because they have these. It's not like a beak. It's like their mouth comes out like really like wide, and then they had like tusks and stuff. And then it got me thinking when I saw it. I'm like, which we can go to later, but I was like, is like this more lore accurate? Is it designed from the movie lore more lore accurate?
Well, give you an idea. Here's the trolls in the from the old illustrations. So they're kind of bait. They're kind of yeah. I mean, they're more smooth. I think the trolls. I think at least the trolls and the goblins, because they're supposed to be gross. It's like I kind of excused it. Like, all right, they're gross.
Yeah,
but like, there's also people that like should not be gross.
Yes,
that are gross. Like the elves, the tree elves.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, yeah, that was what I was gonna say.
Oh
like,
my gosh. Okay,
have you seen like Elrond? Elrond looks like I'm an elf, and he's got the halo going around him. But then you get to the other elves, and you're like, okay, what happened here?
Elrond first shows up, and when Elrond first showed up, I was like, they kind of did him dirty. He doesn't look great, but I'm like, okay, anime elf boy. I don't know what that weird like constellation halo thing is, but then I thought of like, okay, they have got those like shiny gems and stuff. It's like, okay, I see it. All right, it's like
that's
anime
like
vibes.
Edward Sparkle right there going on.
Edward Sparkle heads. But then what was hilarious was then the movie keeps going on, and as the movie goes on, you get to Thranduil, and it's like, oh, like what did they do to him?
I know.
It was so bad.
And those elves all have like frog legs. Like they made it like a different.
So,
I don't
like,
know what.
If you look, I don't know if I can zoom this in or
Are
not.
they supposed to be
like
trees?
It's
like
so
roots?
weird. Yeah, it's so weird. His legs are like all bulbous looking, and then they have like a pointed end, almost like a root.
They look like orcs more.
Yeah, I thought they looked more like orcs. I get they're supposed to be like oh, they're the wood elves or whatever. I was like
long.
Okay, guys, I'm like they're supposed to be the same species. And also, like it was like an odd design choice with that. Like, and all of them looked that way too. It was like I was kind of surprised by that. Oh no, it was funny though when I was looking that up, I found this meme.
Be careful.
Be careful who you call ugly in middle school.
That's funny. At least the design was, I think, a little bit better than the Dutch version of The Hobbit. Hobbit.
Oh my goodness! Yes,
all the dwarves look
somebody
the same.
Showed that. Yes,
look at little Bilbo in his like Healy costume.
He is. It looks like that, like banana. You know, like the banana cat, where it's like a cat that's like stuck inside of a banana. That's what that reminds me of.
Again, the Banana Man from Adventure Time.
Yeah, another Adventure Time reference there.
Unacceptable.
Real quick, speaking of mustaches, I thought it was funny that all the spiders had like Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
Hulk Hogan mustache. Hey, brother, get over here.
They were like, they all looked like they had like a weird like mustache. Like they were like, do they have tusks or mustaches? I don't know, just somewhere in the middle ground.
Like it's like they wanted to do the fangs, but that's too scary. So they're Also, everything is like everything in this. I think to me, the design, if you had to sum up everything in this whole movie, is wrinkled and hairy because everything. I know everything. I know, right? More wrinkled than it should be, and everything more hairy. Even Smog. Smog has got like a goatee.
Okay,
he's like a cat.
He's furry.
That is like the iconic, like when people bring up the Hobbit, it's like, why does Smog look like a cat? The first thing I could think of was that, like, because like the Topcraft company is Japanese based, and they probably were thinking like Chinese dragon, where they've got like the whiskers, but then they're like, but then he's supposed to have wings, so he's not like the usual like serpent one. But his neck is really long. And I think they were like, well, like, I think they're kind of like not sure what they want to do it. And I thought about this too, is I don't know the timeline of this, but like the orcs kind of reminded me of like the Koopas, like Bowser, where they had like, or the goblins, I guess, not the orcs, but
it's the same thing.
Same thing, essentially. They had almost like a Bowser type of thing where it looked like they were like a mix between like bull, lizard kind of thing. Like they weren't like full one thing or another. Oh, and then another thing, I'm going to share this with you guys in a second. That I remembered seeing on here too was, did you guys notice that the goblins had split throats? Like their throats weren't like one opening; it was two. It was so okay. So this is so weird. I try to get a good shot of it, but I don't know if this is like the best picture. But I think they were trying to make it look like they're like uvula or whatever. But like instead,
Oh yeah,
it's
you're right.
like two odd like tunnels. And I looked at that, and they like highlight it, like they zoom in on it like multiple
I
times.
thought there was something odd about
Yeah.
that. I didn't realize maybe it's supposed to be like a long.
That's what I'm
guessing. The
guessing.
goblins really remind me of the I wonder if the Spiderwick Chronicles goblins.
Oh yeah,
were based off of these.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
certain degree, just because they're very like frog-like.
Yes,
and, like, and like bullfroggy, and it kind of like lends to the King Koopa turtley kind of thing. But they kind of remind me of that a little bit.
I didn't even think about the Spiderwick goblins, but you're right. I almost wonder if like because that book came out later, so maybe there was like inspiration they took from it or something like that.
Never know. Sometimes I think it's almost like the similar, like if they were both thinking about like a frog and Spiderwick Chronicles is based thinking of a bullfrog. You kind of get the same kind of
similar
big mouth.
vibe.
Yeah.
And then some of the other character designs that I thought were a little strange were like Gollum looking like a fish man type of frog man instead of like a hobbit. And like I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was so weird. Like if you looked at Gollum, he's like all gray. But then, like, the way that I'm guessing they were trying to make it look like, oh, he's, like, covered in the shadows or whatever. But, like, it's like they didn't finish coloring his body and his clothing because he has, like, a loincloth and hair, but the loincloth and hair are also gray.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because there's shots where, like, oh, is that a tail? No, that's not a tail. That's a loincloth. Oh, no. Is it a tail? I can't tell. And then there was another part where it looked like he had, like a jacket or like a shawl type of thing, and then I was like, no, that's actually his hair. It was like really weird.
One thing I point out, apparently, in like as people write Tolkien letters and stuff, apparently Gollum was in the Hobbit, like he did intend him to have clothes on. So like when because there's parts where Gollum will talk about like pockets and things.
Yeah.
And if you think of like Lord of the Rings, he's got like a loincloth. There's like no room for pockets. Like
there could be some pockets on there.
But I think it's kind of like I think it's one of those things. It's kind of like it's vague enough that you kind of take it either way.
Yeah, one that's almost like I mean we're talking about the cartoon, but even like the live action and like the timeline of Gollum getting the ring, I almost wonder that they could have made like with the live action films and even some other things like make Gollum look a little bit more like a hobbit originally in those films. Just like, I don't know. I think that would have been more interesting to see like Bilbo's reaction to seeing another hobbit in like that setting.
Well, part of it is too is like Gollum. I think he's had the rings like 400 years at this point because the only other person besides Sauron who had the ring the longest is Gollum.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of has got like he's kind of like the furthest almost you could pull it because Gollum was supposed to be idea like almost like the Emperor or someone in Star Wars. It's like someone whose lifespan is so much further beyond what it should be that he doesn't even like resemble what like he was.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because like when you think about like this is when Bilbo is young, and then Bilbo is really old by the time that you get to the Lord of the Rings. So like technically it's kind of interesting because like you think I wonder like with Gollum not having the ring anymore, like how that affected like physically, like would he start becoming more ragged and old because he doesn't have that ring?
So that's actually a really interesting topic is that in the books Bilbo doesn't start looking old until the ring is destroyed.
Yeah.
And neither necessarily does Gollum, because Gollum kind of knows, and kind of Frodo kind of knows. They're like, well, when the ring's gone, even though he's not wearing it, because like the ring still, because Frodo doesn't like wear the ring in the Fellowship of the Ring, but they say that there's like after Bilbo gives it to Frodo, and Frodo has in his possession, there's several years in between.
The timeline's a little bit longer.
There's like, it's like 17 years before he actually leaves Hobbiton.
Yeah.
And then they make the point that like Frodo doesn't look any older, and he's not actively wearing it like Bilbo does. He's just the power of the ring has, just if you're around it, like just because you own it, it starts affecting you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's interesting, is that you don't actually have to be like using it for it to affect you, which I think is kind of interesting.
Like one of the best representations of that was like in the live action films. I think he's Return of the King. They show Bilbo and he's like, I'm ready to go on another adventure, and you're like, oh, bro melted. He's that fell on the car seat during summertime.
Oh man.
Then other things that we could talk about, I think next a good point one that kind of going off of character design would be animation. So is there any parts of the animation, like more specific than general, like any scenes that you're like, oh, that was actually kind of cool, or what was that animation there that like it was like really ridiculous that stood out to you guys?
There is some sound editing and some editing that they did that I was a little bit like, whoa, what happened there? And one of them was I was watching it because I was rewatching it again, and all of a sudden I was like, what? And so I do have a clip to play.
Ruled by my grandfather, king under the mountain.
Okay, so it's that laughter.
Ew! What was that laughter?
The laughter part is like, it's like in the wrong editing. It's like here.
By my grandfather.
I didn't catch that the first time I watched that. Ew.
And it's literally it's like they're
my grandfather.
Yes. Now what it is, there's a flashback, and when the flashback's happening, it's like oh, they're having a party. It sounds like it's like some bullies beating up some other kid.
I was gonna say.
But then he goes,
it sounds being a jerk or something.
And you're like, okay. What?
I didn't know
I was watching
like goblins this early.
I know. And I was like, were they bad people? Is that why it didn't happen? And then it looks like everybody's just like normal there, but it was like it's just funny.
I love that. But, Isaac, do you have a a clip or anything or animation that stood out to you?
Well, I didn't save the clip, but if you watch the part with Gollum when he's talking to him, his eyes actually change multiple times.
Oh,
when he first sees them, they're blank, but when he gets angry, they actually will glow yellow, and they change quite a bit while he's talking. And I thought it was really cool because they mentioned how they glow in the book, but they also Gollum like as his expression with, I thought was kind of neat, because even though he's kind of frog-like, his expression, a lot of it's with his eyeballs.
Yes.
And so when he's calm, it's like very blank. And then when he gets upset, they all start glowing. They actually see his pupils and stuff.
Yeah.
And more of an expression in his face. But I thought that was really cool because they
I think really honestly, and that's what I was mentioning, like the animation and design stuff, like too. Like I think that's honestly partially what made Gollum more scary, probably for me as a kid, was like there was a part in there when you see his eyes, and you know how like when you look into a person's eyes, something you can see like the backing reflected on it. However they animated that was like really impressive eye animation. I'd agree with that.
They did that with Smog's eyes too. Like Smog they don't give it but they give it this like strange texture.
It's got like a glare type of thing. It's very good like lighting animation. One of the animations, I don't know if I had the clip of it, but I'll plop it in here. The animation I had that I really liked was the initial part when you see Smog attack the town or the kingdom or whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't really see him up close, but you see like his body like fly over the mountain, and then you see a shadow like pass over the city. And it's really cool because the way they do it, it almost looks like I don't even know, it might have been a wave of water, but it does this thing where you see the dragon form like slowly approach, and then suddenly there's this big blast, and then suddenly the city's just on fire, and it's like, oh, he just destroyed the city, it's gone. That was really cool.
The book too mentions like when Thorin talks about him coming, he's not even there yet, and just the weather changes.
Yeah,
because the force of his wings change the wind, kind of feeling.
Yeah,
and so he almost becomes this like natural disaster himself, which I think is really cool.
We can't really not talk about with like animation and stuff without talking about this great animation, which I feel like has become a meme at this point. I thought that was great. He's like that part at the very beginning where like Bilbo is just like sitting there smoking, and then all of a sudden Gandalf's like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
Also,
I like that
I didn't
part.
save it on here. I'll share a clip of it, but when Gandalf first shows up, they randomly have a lightning strike behind him. It's like, and it was like really odd. I'll talk about that more later. It was really odd. Let's go ahead next. Let's move on to character voices and like the dubbing and whatnot for the different characters. And then with that, share if you guys like specifically a certain character or if you thought a character's voice was like really awful. Now, those are like the elements I thought would be good to share here. And I'll let you go first.
So what the character that I liked the voice.
So was there any character that you thought had a really great voice that was like, man, they really got a good voice actor for? Or is there any of them that you were like, why did they pick this voice?
I kind of feel like Bilbo was a little a couple times because he doesn't seem very emotional. He just seems like, yeah, I'm telling you off. He has that kind of vibe, which is okay, because it is what it is. But Gandalf, I kind of feel like he did really good with his voice.
I'd agree. I think Gandalf is probably the most solid out of the whole thing.
It was kind of hard for me to watch the part with I'm trying to think his name, not Dale. What's
Bard?
Oh, Bard.
Bard's voice is the same as Mr. Slate from the Flintstones.
Yes.
And so when I was watching, I kept thinking like, where have I heard this voice? So I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's what it is. And I kept waiting to go Flintstone. And
we are honored by your presence. Your grandfather lives in our songs and legends.
Miss Lag, get hold of the foreman and tell him Flintstone's gold-breaking again.
Let's
yes.
I don't know about you guys, but like I guess probably for non-One Piece fans, they probably want to get it. But like Kaido's voice in Smog's voice, if you hear Smog's voice, it really sounds like Kaido from One Piece, and I was like,
I am strong, strong, strong! My armor is like tenfold shields. My teeth are like swords. My claws spears. The shock of my tail are thunderbolts!
Straw Hat, you're alive. I'm grateful.
I think that was probably my favorite one out of all the different voices. I
felt like Smog reminded me of like if I envisioned him like an old man sitting on his porch with his shotgun. Like, you kids, get into my land.
He
gave me that vibe.
Yes. Thondrel was the worst one in my opinion. That was I didn't agree. I totally forgot about it.
I thought he was so bad.
He's like the entire time.
The forest elf king.
It was like,
I've got that clip if you want to play the clip of it.
Yes, let me go ahead and share his clip.
Try to attack. No attack. We came to beg. We were starving.
And why were you in the forest in the first place?
That is our business.
Very well. Take them away until they feel inclined to tell the truth, even if they wait 100 years.
They are coming for you.
I can't remember. Was that Thorin going, that's our business? It was like,
yes, I know. He just sounded like he was talking about his laundry or something.
I feel like
that's our business.
The hatred was like the dwarves and the elves is way less noticeable in the cartoon. It's way more like just like passive hatred where they're just like, I'm not a big fan of you guys.
Yeah. I think when we talk about the story, I was going to touch on that a little bit later too.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because that specifically, that scene in every different version of Lord of the Rings in The Hobbit is done very differently.
Yeah.
So I was going to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me see here if there's any other parts in here with the dubbing. Oh, okay. So something I wrote down so I watched this with my wife Haley. And my wife Haley, you guys didn't know that.
You're married?
What? It's your first time listening.
I got
my wife.
First I've heard of this.
I've got me a wife too, you know.
I watched it with her, and it was funny because we were talking about like how much we didn't care for Bilbo's voice, but one thing we thought was super funny was the fact that Bilbo, most of the lines that he has in there is like a little kid like learning something for the first time. He's like,
"Oh,
like yes, a moonstone." He's like, "What's a moonstone?"
I know.
What?
I wrote that down.
That?
Yes.
He like almost all of his lines were that way. And then I'll share the two clips.
The way he says it, he doesn't go, "What's a moonstone?" He goes, "What is a moonstone?" He says it every time.
What is a moonstone?
Yes, indeed. There are moon letters here. See?
What are moon letters?
And about Bilbo too, one of my favorite parts from Bilbo is when the fighting's happening and he's like, "I just wish I was a back end," or whatever. What are you doing? He's like, I put my wrist here. And he's like, what? He's like, "I've had enough of this." And he's like,
5 armies now? Mr. Bilbo Baggins, enough is enough.
Just his attitude. Like just the overall, he's just like done with it. But
there's some parts where like he overacts too. Like there's a part when they're first telling him all like the stuff and he's reading the list and he like faints, but he's like, "Eee!"
Is this the adventure you've planned for me? To help you recapture the gold?
None other. There are 13 of you.
It's like really awkward. And then he does the same thing. Like he like sneaks into the elves' house. He's like, "Ooh."
To end up as prisoners.
That's funny.
There's parts where he like overacts it. And then in terms of like lines of dialogue in there too, that was another thing I figured we could cover with this. But one thing I thought was kind of funny was like there's a part where they're going into the mountain and they're start talking about how like smog stinks or like smells bad. You guys they're like, "Oh, it stinks in here." Like, "Oh, it smells really bad." And it's like, "Yeah, it's that dragon. He's been stinking it up." I was like,
"No, I've not smelled dragon before."
All the halls within must be filled with his foul reek.
Man, it's like I guess that's the forgotten corner that he takes a dump in that they came in through.
Dragon's got to go at some point.
Yeah.
What
and
is
then
a smell? I'm sorry.
What is a smell? He just asks everything. What is this?
He does it like the whole time. He'll be like,
"Is that a spider?"
Stones.
Then I also like sound design wise, I thought they were gonna like dedicate a little bit more sound effects to like when he uses the ring, but when he first puts on the ring, it's got like a really distinct sound to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And then later it doesn't do anymore. But I thought it was actually kind of interesting. I'm like, "Oh, it's kind of a cool idea to make the ring have like a sound effect to it."
Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
One of the lines, I didn't remember the whole line, but one of the lines I remember partially writing down when we were watching was like when they're fighting the spiders and he's like getting them loose or whatever, and he says something like he says something like, "You get them loose, I'll do the stinging." He's got sting. He's like, "I'll do the stinging."
The funny part is that like he does say that in the book, but the delivery makes all the difference.
Yes, it does. The delivery.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Talk about delivery. I the part when Gandalf first shows up and he's like, it's so awkward because I feel like the pacing is off with it because he comes around the corner and he's like, hey, are you gonna be a burglar? And he's like, oh, I don't think I could be a burglar. Hey, and all of a sudden, he gets like really close and he's like,
enough. I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
Okay, like
I noticed that too because I was thinking about that scene when he says that is that conversation is actually pretty long because he in the book he's walking past his house and he's telling him good day and basically Bilbo's like trying to blow him off and then Gandalf's like, hey, don't you remember me basically, and he's like, no, I don't, and it's like, oh, I'm Gandalf, like, but that on its own, that's like the end of the conversation. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like there's no context.
I feel like there was maybe either more of it they cut out, and then they were like, that was just not a good take. Let's cut out. Or they were like afraid that kids were gonna lose interest. It's like the iPad kid thing. They're like, we gotta make sure we do. Gandalf shows up and there's lightning behind him. He's a wizard.
And did you see when like he was at the table and he was like, well, are you gonna do it or not? And then Gandalf answers for him. Of course he's gonna do it. And he's like, I'm like,
I know that's not that way in the book.
No choice.
Funeral expenses.
Do you find the terms acceptable? Of course he does.
No, I noticed that
you didn't even sign. He didn't get a chance to sign the paper
for the pacing.
You've been grandfathered in.
The pacing of it, like they do, I think for the sake of it being like an hour and a half or however long it is, I think they do cut it down. But there's some parts that
it says on my laser disc here. It's an hour and 17 minutes.
There you go.
Right
it's funny though because it's interesting that they there's certain things like that they have to cut out for time, but it for just like an odd thing with the part where he gives Thorin the key and they show the map that happens back at the house in the book. And even him talking to Bilbo and be like, hey, this is why we need a burglar because there's a secret door.
Yeah.
And then all of that's at the house. So in the movie, they don't talk about that. So Thorin's like, why the frick do we have to go? He's like, it's the lucky number. And then when they show up at the troll place, then he's like, oh, by the way, this crucial reason that we can even do this. Here it is. And then he's like, boy, I'm good at maps. I think they were trying to show a read in the story. I think they felt like the people who made the story, it's almost like they felt like Bilbo let them down with the trolls. We got to give Bilbo a reason he's cool again here.
Yeah,
why did they move that? It didn't understand.
There were things. Yeah, it was there were things that was you felt like there should have been either more conversation or more weight to certain lines, and then it was either turned into a joke or really passive. At the very end of the film. If you think of compared to even the live action, there's a part where he's like, Bilbo, you could have taken more gold and stuff. And he's like, oh, it's all good. And he's like, plus I'm going to be keeping this ring.
But you have other prizes.
The ring? Oh, yes. I'll keep it as a souvenir in a glass box on the mantle.
But he's really enthusiastic. You're like,
Johnny.
Gandalf didn't have it. Johnny. Eating silverware, okay? That's I think they're a good point for us to go ahead and flip over to our next topic, which is kind of transitionary here, because we're going into the soundtrack, but with the soundtrack also the narrator for the film. That was something that was very different that I wasn't exactly expecting. The narrator in the film where he has this rhyming that's going on. It's almost like a song where it's they went here and then he says something that rhymes with here. It felt more like a nursery rhyme vibe at the beginning. I was like, oh, it's a little different than I thought. But then what were your guys' thought on the soundtrack?
The soundtrack is pretty awesome, I think. It has moments. The thing about the soundtrack is no matter what, there's these moments in the show where suddenly this music plays and then they're like, Bilbo, da-da-da. It's like this.
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead.
That song plays so much at the end. I don't know the rest of the words, but it'll all of a sudden be like,
everybody put your hand over the heart for the Hobbit anthem.
I know.
The greatest adventure. And it had after like I said, almost like a nursery rhyme. It's kind of awkward because I think it's Gandalf says something. He's like, "You're about to go on the greatest adventure of your whole life."
Yes.
And then suddenly, like, the scene fades, and it's like the greatest adventure. It's like,
yes.
oh, you thought you were done with
There's
that
more
scene?
time. Yeah,
it's continuing on.
I thought it was kind of funny because they used that song multiple times, and I was thinking as I watched the beginning how rushed it was, but then they stopped to play that whole song.
Yeah,
I know.
So I was like, dude, they're making sure they get that song and like the songs. One thing about the songs, a majority of them, which is actually similar to the live action, they have a lot of the like poems or songs from the book. They do put them in it for the most part.
Yeah,
like,
I was surprised, like that Greatest Adventure song. I don't know what, like, budget wise, how much
that's the only one that's not from the book.
Yeah, I know.
It's almost like guys, I wrote a good song. Greatest Adventure.
What?
We all pause there.
It broke. What'd you say?
The song there, it went dead silent for a second.
We were saying it kind of reminds you of that, like, Robert Redford meme where it zooms in and then there's that nod.
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead.
Because there's a lot of that and stuff. I will say this though, my favorite song is the Goblin Town song.
Yeah,
that song slaps.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, the Goblin Town song on this animated movie, I actually think is better than the live action.
I agree. I
go back and listen to that now because it's like, oh, that's a really great song. I like this.
There's another song in there, but it's like the same kind of vibe. I can't remember what
they bring it back for the final battle. They play it again.
Yes,
like,
they do. They do.
This one is
a banger. If I banger, they know what it was.
It's a bop. Bring it back.
But yeah, I agree. That was like one of my favorite songs in there. I thought the Blunt the Knives song, it was really short, but it wasn't bad, and it was very similar to the live action one. I like the live action one better, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Blunt the knives and bend the forks, smash the bottles, burn the corks. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. So carefully with the blades.
It just seemed odd when they started it because they were like, "We're here," and then all of a sudden, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, it was like, it was weird because
destroy your
like
house.
Still out. They're like, blunt the knives. They're like, where are we going inside? It was like they're like, we're here to blunt your knife.
We trash the place.
You guys call for a blunter.
They do play the song of the Lonely Mountain too, the dwarf sing, but it's only at the very beginning.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, that was kind of late. They didn't use
it was very odd because I would have thought they would have played it later.
It was because they knew that the Greatest Adventure was the one that lied ahead.
I know they kind of got out the far over.
I know.
It was like,
yes,
the greatest.
No.
Bro, yeah, you know what we need? We need like an auto tune where you take the Greatest Adventure song, but you make it follow the newer Misty Mountain song. So it's like deep, like the Greatest Adventure.
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said.
We'll just make it the bridge.
There you go. And then another. I don't know.
Sheerhan sing that instead on instead of the movie. What he's saying.
I'm going to share with you guys one of the parts, and this is kind of an editing thing, but also song-wise, it's really awkward.
Pity. Elvish singing is not a thing to miss in June under the stars. But
Tra-la-la-lally, here down in the valley, oh, where are you going with beards all away?
Pause. Okay. This song, it goes
to sing that at my birthday every year. Okay.
This song for way too long. That is my main complaint about this song. Is it sounds like the rest of the songs, but then they meet Thranduil, and then like they have this like tense
Elrond?
music. Thranduil, sorry, Elrond. Sorry.
We'll get it right.
You call yourself a Star Wars fan? Oh, Star Wars? Wait, you mean Lord of the Rings?
Your brother Gandalf.
I think it's the Snow White effect. I think they were trying to get into the it's got that kind of vibe.
Yes, but like
they look like they're mining.
So they go into. I'm gonna skip ahead when they're sitting at the table.
Dear Elrond, your hospitality is magnificent. The food, the wine, the stories, the music. Yes, but we've much to accomplish. You promised to have a look-see at these troll swords after our feast.
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, they're not troll make. They must have been stolen. They were made for the Goblin Wars. This sword, Thorin, the rune's name, Orcrist, the Goblin Cleaver.
And mine?
Glamdring, the Foe Hammer. Keep them well.
Okay.
I will keep this in honor.
Now show me your map.
I haven't.
But if you guys notice, it's so awkward because as this like music is playing, you can still hear it in the background. Tra-la-la-lee, tra-la-la.
Yes.
That was supposed to be the elves singing.
It's so awkward because like maybe you should have had it fade off, but it keeps going into the scene, and it made it like oddly creepy. It was
in
like
the book
is everything okay?
That's the songs that the elves are singing when they're there. But part of it lends it to it is a creepiness.
Are you telling me? Hold on. Are you telling me that the Peter Jackson version of Lord of the Rings skipped the Tra-la-la song?
They don't do the Tra-la-la song. Well,
bad movie.
But like
0 out of 10. We missed Tra-la-la.
It's bad too because in the cartoon, they take the idea that Elrond's house is literal, like that's all that's there.
Yeah.
So there is no one else there but Elrond in this like little cabin.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, because in the book, it's like like a palace or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a stronghold, a safe place, and is it like his home? But like there are other elves there too. Whereas in the cartoon, it's like nope, it's just this dude in a cabin. And
it's like welcome to Elrond's cabin. He's like, hey guys, I'm the only person here.
Like, who is singing this song right now? Who is singing that song?
We couldn't spare any of the budget to make any other elves here.
But we sure got a lot of wood elves later on. That don't even look like elves.
And then I'm trying to see if there's any other things we wanted to note about soundtrack. Let me see here. Yeah, I think that was mostly it. There was like a few moments where like they had this like folk song vibe, but then there were some other moments where it went to this like very like 80s-ish vibe of like G.I. Joe, like old cartoon, like, and they're like, we gotta go and do this thing. Like the scenes were like fighting and stuff like that. And it like kind of changed vibes a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, instead of having like Celtic type of music or anything like that, it was kind of funny. It's kind of like, oh, this is different.
Speaking of fighting, and I think there is a sound effect when this happens, but when they kill anything, like Gandalf kills the Goblin King, they go like, it's like they spin around.
They
like,
spin off and go up into like outer space.
I forgot about that.
And reminds me of Batman, like whenever Batman has a scene transition. And it's like they didn't want to like show him like cutting his head off, so they just like let's just
put something in there.
but there's I think there's a sound effect that plays during that time.
That's funny. I didn't catch that before.
Yeah, well, if you rewatch it, just
I don't know what I was going at with this part, but I made a note that just said 15 birds song while they climb up the tree. I don't know what that was.
So when they're burning down the thing, the
Yeah.
goblins are chasing them. It's like 15 birds, and it gets really like, we're gonna cook them and skin them and eat them, and it's like, what? It's like, what is this song?
Roast them alive or stew them in a pot. Fry them, boil them, eat them hot. Bake and toast them, fry and roast them till beards blaze and eyes glaze, till hair swells and skins crack. Fat melts and bones black in cinders lie beneath the sky. So the dwarf shall die. 15 birds in 5 fir trees, their feathers were fanned in a fiery breeze. But funny little birds.
That's another one from the book that the goblins are like mocking them.
Oh, because it's supposed to be the group of them up in the tree.
Yeah, the goblins are like.
Okay, that makes.
They actually do it. That's what's crazy about it. It's so funny that they have songs from the book, and then they go like out of their way to write like a completely original song on top of all of them.
Do you know, like, it was funny? You know what? The first thought that came up to my mind was, I thought it was like, oh, the eagles are showing up. I thought, was it specifically 15 eagles that show up to rescue them in the book? And like, 15 eagles. Like, oh, like, that's what I thought they were going for with it.
We need another line, guys. We can make 15 eagles.
Then I guess that kind of goes into other elements that we could talk about, which would be like key scenes and plot lines, and then like with those plot lines compared to like the actual book, like did they give enough time for it? Yeah.
So one thing that I was different than the movie, which I felt like the movie did really good, but like there's a key scene that they put in here that I felt like was like, okay, that didn't make any sense, is if you can show the clip here.
So halfway through recording this episode, we completely lost Adam's audio. And we were like, do we just not even worry about posting the episode because we were having enough issues with our mics clipping and whatnot? And we came to the decision, no, let's still release it. It's worth watching for fun. But with Adam's audio being gone, we had to do one special thing. Adam had to go into his recording studio and dub over all of his lines after we've already recorded. So enjoy the next half of the podcast with Adam's special ADR dub.
Undoubtedly, all this wealth was what brought the dragon. The pines were roaring on the height.
It's like,
who were these random dwarfs that caused all the problem?
Yeah, it's supposed to be Balin and Thorin.
Oh,
but they don't say that.
That makes sense now.
Also, the fact that the one dwarf's name is Balin, it sounds like he's like a basketball player. It's Balin.
See, when I watched it before, I was like, who are these dwarves that are transferring this gold? Or were they just like in the wrong neighborhood?
Yeah.
Smog just happened to be there.
I
mean, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you lose on the way there.
They're on the wagon. They're on the Oregon Trail.
That's a great joke, laddie.
Any other that you guys noticed that like stood out as kind of odd or anything like that to you?
Animation wise?
Just like plot line wise.
Oh,
so
storylines?
Yeah,
so
yeah, just covering like key scenes and plot lines.
Yeah, so I kind of, as I was watching it, I was kind of making note of things that either were the same or not the same, like or like they were different.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like I brought up earlier, how like the oddness of where like we talk about the map later, like doesn't really matter, but it's just like those kind of things, or like how they shorten things, stuff that they just completely cut out. Like they cut out 100% Bjorn. He's not in it. They don't talk about Bjorn.
You're right.
They don't talk about Bjorn.
No bear representation.
They don't also.
No bears.
There's no bears. like, and like I understand for shortening,
No bears.
like shortening the movie. Like, I think that it makes sense for a shorter cartoon.
But kids
like
love
the other thing
bears!
they cut out the necromancer completely.
Yeah.
So like the reason why the forest is bad, and also like why Gandalf leaves, because in the book Gandalf comes back and it's like, hey, we dealt with the necromancer, now I'm coming up here to help you guys.
Yeah.
But like I think for the movie it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just like those are like I don't know, like
that's
part
a
of
good
the book. It's part of the story.
I think we can all agree that the story was sadder because they cut this little guy right here. Bjorn for me was an integral part of the story. You know, it was fun to see him change. It was awesome. But instead, we were delightfully oversaturated with the greatest adventure is what lies ahead. That was everywhere. We kept seeing that.
And
honestly,
instead of the bear, we got cutscenes of the greatest adventure.
And what bouncing off what you said about that, there's certain parts of it they spend a lot of time on, like the riddles. They have almost all of the riddles, I think, from the book. It's like they, instead of cutting out a riddle or two, they leave that entire thing in there.
Okay, speaking of riddles,
yeah,
they put so much effort on that riddle.
Touch about on that. Okay, that was something.
Watch it.
Roll that beautiful bean footage. Okay, that is one of the things I was going to mention, because when we were talking about character designs and stuff, and I was talking about when I was a kid, I was scared of Gollum. I think partially what makes that scene so scary is the music, because it's so weird how they go from them just talking and having a riddle, and then it stops and it just starts panning around the cave in these like weird shots. And then suddenly it's like this weird, eerie woman singing in the background. It's like she's singing the riddle. And I'm like, that's probably what scared me as a kid, is it was like off-putting music and the creepy looking Gollum. It was like, oh, like, Mom, what is this kind of thing? Like, I can play the clip here.
He kind of reminds me of the scary version of Templeton from
baby.
Charlotte's Web.
Pull up the clip, baby. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Eggs it is.
Oh, bother.
It cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelled. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter. The answer is dark, the dark.
Us now. Now us. My precious.
I'm a quiver with anticipation.
It's okay, Bjorn. Gollum's not real and he can't hurt you. It's okay, little buddy. Just go get some sugar snacks. Just go get some snacks.
I really did not like that scene. That part was so. And the answer is no. I was like,
it was intense.
I think that the riddle is
the riddle.
I think one thing.
A riddle-based movie
I think though,
right now.
Partly,
it's a riddle. It's a riddle. What's inside?
Partly about Bjorn too is that Bjorn is the one that in the book warns them about staying on the old path, and a big part of Bjorn being in the book is he's just kind of like, hey, you need like setting up why they have to be careful. But in the cartoon, it's just like, dang, this forest is so old, and I'm tired of these stupid berries, and I'm gonna climb up this tree. It's more like they're just kind of annoyed, and it doesn't put in the idea of it being like, I think with the necromancer and it being the idea of Darkwood, it's like, oh, there's something like evil in the woods. There's something like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a part I wrote down. Is I said it was such an odd transition of when they're in the forest for the first part, and then Bilbo says something. I wrote it down, I think, but he said something along like, "I'm not sure if I even want to go back to Hobbiton," and then suddenly
there are moments which can change a person for all time. And I suddenly wondered if I would ever see my snug hobbit hole again. I wondered if I actually wanted to.
Let go of the moment.
I awoke the next morning to a hideous surprise.
That was it for the woods? Okay, we're already getting to the spiders. It was very short. It's been like we can kind of dip into our next topic while we're talking about this at the same time, I think. But like comparing it to the live action, so many people are like, I don't like the live action because it takes too long and it drug it out and it should have just been one movie. But then at the same time, I'm like watching this film. I think if it was a longer film, like if it was 2-3 hours, maybe it'd be better. But like this movie feels way too short at times, and it feels like you don't get to linger on the characters. And like the drawers feel so like, oh, who is that? That's Balin. Oh, he looks exactly like
it's
Balin.
like there's no respect for them at all.
Yeah, like, and even like their death is like, it doesn't matter. Like, did they die? Like at the end when Thorin's dying, it's just like he's laying there in his bandages, and it's like, okay, well, Bilbo, the greatest adventure is the one that lies ahead. I was wrong about you. And you're like, he literally said like that.
Yeah, I think that's a couple things that comparing if we're going to talk about comparisons of the old movie to the new movie is that the whole like Thorin and Bilbo's characters are very odd, because I think one thing that was good about the movie was the movie really tried to make sure they had a relationship or a friendship between Thorin and Bilbo. So when Thorin does go like power hungry, it's more sad.
Yeah.
And then like even like the whole like conflict and everything, I think that
it was very better. Short. Yeah, like it was one of those things like the dragon sickness idea of like him being greedy and stuff. They don't highlight very well, and like there's this like, oh, they're gonna fight, and like they're not agreeing with each other, but it's like very quickly resolves. Like goblins came, okay, we're done. Yeah, we're all buddies now. I was like, oh,
yeah, like, and even the like how fast they're just like, hey, we're friends now, right?
Yeah, you're like, come on.
It feels almost off-putting.
More petty between them.
Yeah, like and like in multiple times, Bilbo's like, there's enough gold to go around. He says that multiple times, and that's not really like. I think they were just trying to. I've almost felt like they were just trying to simplify it for like the kids.
Yeah,
and in the even with
but
like,
there's like a lesson too. Meaning of it, it's just like, okay, like they kind of just hold it off until the end. But
well, and like it was with like Thorin, it's like, for instance, like initially he doesn't like the whole thing where he's not sure about Bilbo and stuff with Gandalf, like in like him getting more respect for Bilbo as the story goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, hey, they promise him like a 14th like share, they give him the mithril coat. All that stuff happens in the book. That's why when like in the mention, another thing they cut out was like the Arkenstone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Arkenstone's not even in there.
Bilbo in the book, Bilbo takes it and he gives it to them, and he's like trying to make peace. They don't really do any of that, and so I feel like the ending they just kind of like quickly just kind of move on.
Yeah.
And even another thing with Thorin too, they make a point that Thorin is like has really bad like people skills.
Yes.
So the reason the elves even like keep him in prison is that he's being like excessively rude.
Was even like Elrond. Like when they see Elrond in the cartoon, there's not this feeling of like he doesn't like the elves. It's just like, hey Elrond, you show us that moon thing? Okay, cool, bye. And it's like, whereas like in the live action movie, they give this feeling of like he doesn't even want to be here. They don't like elves at all. Like there's this weird like racism between them where it's just like they just don't like each other. They're disgusted with each other. Yeah.
And I do,
and even like I think for Elrond has no like, he's like, I'm not even connected to this, and they're acting weird toward me, kind of thing. It was like,
I think that I think that Sandril though the king, I think both the movie and the cartoon kind of give him a bad rap. Because I feel like both of them kind of villainize him a little bit.
That is true.
And I don't really feel like he is really
They distract
I
you
don't.
with his
He's
good
not.
looks. Like,
Well, I feel like in the cartoon they make him look ugly to show like for a little kid it's like, oh, he's like a bad guy, and they're like, he just came to beg. They don't say that, and so
that line
and,
that Adam,
and then but then
that
in the
line,
in the movie, I think in the movie they make him kind of like more antagonistic in the movie, and where he's like being mean to Legolas, and he just seems like, I feel like he's not really he's not. I don't feel like he's really a bad guy in the book. It's more like a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
and that's the one thing that I noticed is I feel like the book has a lot more meanings and a lot of messages in it, but I feel like they simplified it more with the cartoon version.
Yeah,
but I mean,
with this, like, he lost his wife and stuff, and they kind of highlight that more.
And I think there's like some deeper meanings. Like even the movies like categorize more like forgiveness and letting things go and doing the right thing. And I just feel like if they had more time, they could have got more messages out. But they kind of went with simpler stuff.
Well, and that's like I even like that one of the other topics, like talking about like the message of the film. I feel like it talks about like greed and friendship. Even the cartoon does, but I think because I was thinking about that, like in terms of watching it, like if you watch it with a kid or something like that, it's like, well, they cover those plot lines, but at the same time, there's things that they like. It's like, man, I would enjoy it maybe a little bit better if the cartoon was like twice as long, as silly as that sounds, or they made it like a TV series or something like that. So that way, at least you had a little more time with the characters. So you felt like, okay, like I get like a grasp of like why this plot line so meaningful. Whereas I feel like the cartoon, even like the friendship between Thorin and Bilbo, when Thorin dies and he's like, hey, I was wrong about you. They only really have like one scene where it's like he like tells Bilbo off really quickly, and then it's kind of like, yeah, I was wrong about you. Like, remember 2 minutes ago I was wrong about you, and it was like, oh, okay. And it didn't feel like, man, this is kind of sad that Thorin's dying. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's that old guy. It's kind of, I think, and I feel like there was probably a longer version of this film when they were first making it, that they cut things out, because and I have like, even too, I have like bullet points of scenes, but there's few scenes where it's like, was there supposed to be more to this scene? And then like they cut something out, because like the part when they get in the barrels, there's a part where he lands in the barrel and he's like, hey, you guys got to stop complaining. Like I'm going to get you out of here. But like you don't hear the dwarves say anything. I was like, was there going to be like more to that scene of them like, oh, get us out of these barrels or something like that, or them being mean to him or something like that, and then they like cut it out? Like it felt like there was going to be more to that scene. It was just kind of this little like, oh, they fell in the water, here we go. And
a couple other things that were different or point out was just some odd things is they mentioned how like there's only 6 dwarves left. And in the book, only 3 of them die. It's just Philly, Killy, and Thorin.
Yeah, you're right. Like, they acted like a lot of them died.
I was just like, why did you say that? It was just an odd thing because, like that they like in the battle. In the book, I mean, eventually they all die at some point. But it's like in the battle, only 3 of them die. So I was like, why did you change that? Like that's odd. And then I think that the Lake Town thing, like talking about the greed, is that when the book mentions like the dragon sickness, the master of Lake Town is not Bard. Bard's the captain, right? The master of Lake Town, when he shows up, the guy that's in the movie, he doesn't believe them.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's in the book, and in the book they say that he just ran off with gold and died in the wasteland somewhere.
Yeah.
Like in the gate, and he doesn't die with the dragon. He dies after they give gold to Dale, or like the new place.
Yeah.
And then like they say like he goes crazy later. But like I feel like for time Anderson to cut him out, but like that is like it. Those are like if you were going to lean into the idea about greed, the book does follow that.
That gets
a lot.
to like some of the differences of things that I'm like, okay, some of these things that are in the cartoon are things that I recognize that were different from the book just because I knew like just a little bit of it. But then there's also like I've got like bullet points of random scenes and elements like that. But one, Gollum calls the ring his birthday present. Did you notice that? Is that in the book?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, is that because when it's when he kills his friend, right?
Yeah, he calls his birthday present.
I was like, it like weirded me out for a second. No, my birthday present.
And you know, another thing that they do, I noticed there's a couple of things that the book, believe it or not, there's a couple of things the cartoon actually gets right that the movie doesn't, which is really interesting. It's as silly as it is. and I didn't completely verify it, but all the dwarves had different colors of capes.
Oh,
they talk about that a lot in the book for some reason, and the dwarves do have different colors of capes in the cartoon. That. The other thing is that Bilbo, at the end of the book, or somewhere in the book, he says that he's going to write a story called "There and Back Again: A Hobbit's Holiday."
I was going to ask you about that. Yes.
In the book, he does say that word "Hobbit Holiday." That's not what the book ends up being called, because the idea of the book is that the book actually Bilbo actually wrote the book, and in Lord of the Rings, he's writing it, so he does change the title. And Bilbo actually in the book, Bilbo actually initially writes the book wrong, and he lies and says that Gollum, because the printing in 1937 said that Gollum gave him the ring, and then when Lord of the Rings came out, it's even in Lord of the Rings the book they mentioned that Bilbo actually didn't tell the truth, he actually took it. And so that's why Gandalf is like... That's
interesting.
Gandalf is like... Gandalf didn't think it was the One Ring because he was like, nobody would just give away the One Ring. And so, it's interesting, but he actually, took that, mistake and actually used it in there.
That was there was another thing with that, too. Oh, there was, when he has the ring at the end, it's in, a little glass case. I didn't know if that... I didn't know if that was in the book.
I'm not sure. I have to look at that one.
I laughed because he said, that
in case of emergency.
Yeah, in case of emergency. Honestly, though, because when he said that about the Hobbit's holiday, it was right around the same time that it was zooming into the ring, and then it made me think back to Gollum calling the ring his birthday present. I'm like, is this something they're trying to make oh, it's the Hobbit's holiday? And I was like, is this they're acting like it's gonna be celebrated or something?
And I actually I have the book here. It says that his magic ring, he kept a great secret, for he chiefly used it when unpleasant callers came. So he does not keep it on his mantelpiece. Okay, I like the
little glass case over there.
Real quick, a couple of things I want to point out real quick between Gandalf. It's like they know whoever made the cartoon knows about Lord of the Rings, because he's like, hey, I disappeared, and Gandalf's like, that's got a nice ring to it. He says that.
Invisible, so to speak.
Your story, Bilbo, has the ring of truth. Yes, it rings true. You need say no more. We'd better...
And then, wait, my favorite line from Gandalf. My favorite line from Gandalf, he's like, take this scroll, write down everything that happened, so I can make fun of you later and tell you what you did wrong. It was they were trying to highlight that Bilbo was writing, but it was like, oh, I'll tell you what you did wrong later. It was like, what is the book report all of a sudden?
Here is paper and a marker. Keep a strict log of the remainder of your journey, so I may study it when we meet again and point out your missteps.
That was rude at times, and there was some other funny scenes in there that I saved too, there's a part when I think it's when Smaug is attacking and stuff, and Bilbo's butt catches on fire, and he's running around in this circle, and then they have to pat his butt.
Cheers for good old Bilbo! Thank you, but I'd appreciate a more pragmatic salute. In other words, extinguish me!
There we go. There we go. Always glad to help a friend.
I can't tell you how grateful I am.
Oh, never mind that. What did you burgle?
This.
Oh!
Yeah. Oh man.
Rankin Bass.
And then when the war happens in the movie, it feels oh man, Bilbo's surrounded, he has to hide away. In the movie, the cartoon, it's almost it feels like a football field, and there's a little tree, and he's just I'm not gonna be a part of this, and he goes and hides over by the tree, and then you're and there's only 6 of the dwarves left, and everybody died, and you're dang, kind of mean. You just watched everybody die in a tree there. It was really sad, and in some ways you're did he really care about them at all? Okay. So Yes, I was gonna say, let's go ahead. Let's share our quotes because I have one I gotta show you guys the clip for as well. So let me go ahead and pull up our quotes here.
When your heart wants lifting, think of pleasant things.
Eggs and bacon, a good full pipe, my garden at twilight, cakes.
This is what this scene reminds me of.
Just give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Wait. I worry what you just heard was, give me a lot of bacon and eggs. What I said was, give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Do you understand?
We all know Ron Swanson would make a great Hobbit laddie. And a great Bilbo.
I love Ron Swanson. I love when he says that, and the guy looks like okay. And then when he walks by, he's like, yeah. So this clip is from toward right at the beginning when they show up at Bilbo's house and they're telling the rest of the dwarves hey, this is what's going on. And then Thorin makes this comment about oh, what a great person Bilbo is. I'll watch this here.
We are met tonight in the house of our friend, this most excellent hobbit. May the hair on his toes never fall out.
Hear, hear.
You said you had a scene that you wanted to talk about as well.
Yeah, I think and at the very opening of the movie, they have the narrator who talks about the past or whatever. And I didn't have the clip say, but it's an opening scene, and it was kind of interesting because they talk about it oh, this is long time ago, but when Tolkien wrote the Silmarillion and all those, he parts of Silmarillion, and the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all that, is that the idea of it was supposed to be an alternate past kind of thing because he was inspired by Beowulf and different older stories.
Oh, like it's in the past of our world.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
It's supposed to be an alternate beginning of the time kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting because the book, even the Hobbit, doesn't mention that, but when you're watching it, that actually is kind of what he intended it to be. So that was another thing.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah,
so
that was kind of interesting.
That's cool. I never knew that. That's cool. That makes sense. So I know in Tolkien lore where it's the flat world that gets turned into the globe and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting lore.
Any other clips or anything you want to talk about or scenes, Adam?
I want to see my favorite scene of the entire movie.
Yeah, let's go ahead and watch it.
Favorite.
I would like to see it. Most favorite scene. It's the best scene.
Funeral expenses.
We spared no expenses.
Best scene in the entire movie.
The hair on your toes never fall out.
May the hair on your toes
This is not my favorite scene.
never fall out.
Not my favorite.
The Goblin Cleaver.
Murderers! Elf friends! Stop! I know that sword! It is called Glambrain! The Full Hammer! Now!
Gandalf! Good old Gandalf!
Follow me quickly.
I love that. I love that. That was
The music
funny.
in that scene just
like
slapped. I'll tell you.
The way that they have the music pick up there, where it's there's the sword or whatever lights up, and then there's this big spiral, and then the music's here's Gandalf as he's about to beat him up or whatever. I love that.
I think that the cartoon action wise, if it's the spiders or the Goblin Town or them shooting Smog, any of the actionative stuff has actually done it's probably the most accurate or put more time into. Yeah, which I think makes it a lot better.
Well, it's even Smog, like I mentioned, the part where he attacks the city. Those parts feel the most some of those parts feel really polished. Like they did know certain parts that were like, okay, hey, we gotta make this scene look really good. Like when Gandalf has a sword, obviously it's cartoony, but it's like that part was like, oh, something different with it, and they highlighted the fact that he had the special sword. And I feel like as a little kid, I would have been really like, oh man, that sword was so cool, kind of thing. But there's another part. I have the clip of it. I might link it on here, but there's a part when the trolls are when they're at the fire, and then Gandalf shows up, and I feel like every time I've seen an iteration, I don't know which one's accurate, but like in the movie, he breaks the rock and the light shows up. In this one, though, it was so funny because Gandalf is like doing this weird camouflage thing where he's like a part of the tree.
Take you all and be stoned.
The sun blasted. How did the morning come so soon?
We're done for.
Excellent.
And then he's like, "No, I'm here," and he's like, "Like that." So weird. As soon as he's like, "Excellent," it was like, okay, Gandalf, this was kind of mean to those trolls, but like the way he did it was just so funny. It was just like he seemed like very like, yeah, it was great that those guys die. But yeah, and then one other thing I got down on here in terms of like book differences and stuff was that the Eagles, the King of the Eagles or whatever, talked in there, and I remember that from the book, from the old audiobook, that he did talk, but that was something that wasn't in the live action. That I was like, oh, they could have done that maybe, but I don't know. Like,
well, and they highlight the reason that the eagle helps him is because Gandalf in the book, like he says on the cartoon, he actually helped him when he got shot with an arrow.
Eagles, we are eternally grateful for your gallant rescue.
I have not forgotten the arrow that brought me down so many years ago. I have not forgotten the wizard who found me and healed my wound. And now, farewell wherever you fare, till your Ares receive you at the journey's end.
Yeah.
Like in the movie, that easily could have been like a cool scene. Yeah, the Eagles are so important to the story that you don't really know why.
At the end of like the first one too, I think.
Yeah, it explains like why when the Eagles go help them later, it's like, oh, this is why Gandalf is friends with these guys. Like,
and I feel like that's a typical like non-Lord of the Rings fan, like bigger fan. They're usually like, well, why didn't they just take the Eagles and go fly over Mount Doom? And it's like, well, you don't know the whole like lore and reason behind that. But like, I feel like the Hobbit movie could have helped with that maybe a little bit. But that was something that stood out to me. And then what else? We talked about that. Okay, and then last thing about films that I feel like we can't talk about the cartoon Hobbit and the live action films without highlighting the hip hop Hobbit Mad sketch that's on Cartoon Network.
What do you say, Bilbo Baggins? I'm looking for someone to join me in an adventure. Will you be in the Hobbit movie?
No way, Gandalf. I'm not doing that. Last time they made a movie based on The Hobbit, it was really bad news.
That was like 30 years ago. What was that, the 80s?
Let's pop it in and find out.
Well, my name is Bilbo, and I'm here to say I'm expected to go on no adventures today. I'm a hip-hop hobbit, and I like to rap. Rap is just rhymes, it's simple as that. Sometimes I rap hard, sometimes I rap soft. I'm past the mic to my man Gandalf. When I pass the mic, he'll take the mic, and he'll have the mic, and he'll use the mic. Gandalf will rap just like me, but he's a different man. He's, well, you'll see.
Well, my name is Gandalf and I'm on the mic. Now I'm gonna rap anything I like. Bilbo, it's time to go on a quest. The dwarfs need your help cause you're the best. All this rapping may sound foreign, but to clear it up is my main dwarf Thorin. When I hand him the mic, he'll open in his hand. Then he'll take the mic with his...
I'm just going to fast forward right there because there are 13 dwarves and they each explain what rap is.
I love that clip. I feel like that was like this just a super random funny idea.
The part at the end where with the like Smog's cave.
Yeah, and then his neck's going like this the whole time.
Yeah.
It was funny because I feel like because I hadn't seen the Hobbit cartoon, I just realized I'm on the wrong side there. Because I hadn't seen the full Hobbit cartoon, I think that was one of the first times I'd seen Smog, and I was like, why does he look like a cat? I remember like asking you about that, and you're like, oh yeah, that's how it ended, but you had seen it, I hadn't. But I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, and then something else that I wanted to share with you guys. I guess we'll talk about it. Is there any other things in terms about for this movie? Is there any other things you want to share about it?
The only thing that it stood out to me, and this is more just the Hobbit in general, and not in part partially the cartoon too, but the part where Bilbo meets Smog, I didn't realize this, but that's kind of the culmination of all the things that he's learned in the story, because he has his ring and he's invisible, and he's like sneaking around. He's sneaking around in there, but then he's
like the riddle type of stuff.
Yeah, but he's a lot more confident at that point, and he actually is like taunting Smog, and then he does like a little riddle like he learned from Gollum about himself, and then so he kind of tries to do the riddle thing again, and that's when it backfires, and he's like,
I didn't think about that though.
Yeah, I thought about that,
and like him sneaking around and him fighting with like spiders and stuff. It's kind of like it all culminates to that moment. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because he kind of like uses all the things that he's either picked up or learned on the way. But that was interesting because I just hadn't really thought of it that way.
That is really cool. I hadn't thought about that. And then I would say our final thing in terms of for the film is the question I have for you guys would be, who is the best audience for this film? Like if you were to recommend it to somebody, one, would you recommend it at all? Two, who would you recommend it for? Like who is this movie made for? And then family friendliness rating, where would you rate it as? Like, is it a family friendly movie that you could watch with your family, or like what type of film would you say this is?
I would say the film is definitely made for children.
Yeah.
However, I do think it's a family show because there's a lot of good messages in the show about not being greedy, being happy with what you have, and then also how life's kind of an adventure. So I kind of feel like families could talk about that. It could be a discussion point, possibly.
Do you feel like it's a good way to introduce little kids to this series without them having to watch the live action?
That's debatable, laddie.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
I would say proceed with caution with little kids because from our own experience, maybe
I was scared.
Maybe like show them a picture of what they're going to see ahead of time. If that's scary, then don't watch it.
Yeah, like
the voices they give.
Maybe watch Sleeping Beauty first, and if Sleeping Beauty and the goblins and stuff and Sleeping Beauty are too scary, then don't watch the Hobbit. Because there's a little more terrifying stuff in there. But that was my same thoughts. Was like, it's not a bad way to introduce them to it, but at the same time, it may be a little too much at times. I feel like it's not one of those films, like, you don't have to be a Lord of the Rings fan to, like, enjoy it. So if it was, like, a person, like, I've never seen the movies, they could probably watch it. But I think, as a Lord of the Rings fan, it's a lot more fun because you notice all those weird things, like Thranduil being weird-looking when you're like, not, and you're like, ew, why does he look that way? I think that makes it a fun element in there.
Well, laddie, I'll tell you. If you want an introduction to dwarf culture, this video did not do a good job to advance that in the knowledge of children. Evidently, though, according to my wife, it's not the worst movie ever made, but for children. But I feel like it did not do a good job.
She mentioned The Last Unicorn, too, didn't she? Because that's another film by this company, to my memory, that we're going to have to watch at some point.
Oh, yes.
Next time, Last Unicorn!
Episode 501.
I've never seen that too, so that'd be a fun one to watch. But then that's getting to like another point here, and I would have brought it up earlier, but I think just in terms of our experience with this film, there is actually another animated Hobbit film, and I found this out when I was digging in through my studies. So it was. I'm going to give you the background for it first, and then show you guys a little bit of it. It's free to watch on YouTube. It's very short. I think it's like 12 minutes long. It's older, so it's 10 years older. So it was in. I'll give you guys the just a little bit of this like Wikipedia description. Producer William L. Snyder of Rembrandt Films had the film rights to Tolkien's work from 1964 to 1967, and he intended to make a feature-length animated film of The Hobbit, and blah 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 blah. The purpose of the proposed deal, he made the proposed deal with the 20th Century Fox, and it didn't go right. And apparently contractually, because it was almost like how when they made guys, we got to make a Fantastic Four film or we're going to lose our rights to it, or we got to make a Spider-Man film so we don't the stuff we see now. That's what was happening, and the guy was under the pressure, I've got to he had to make a full color film, apparently, according to the contract he had, and he only had until the 30th of June or something like that. And essentially, the guy did not want to lose the rights to the film, so he made this little film. And it's 12 minutes long, and what they did is it's just literally to fulfill his contract. And it didn't air on TV or anything. It wasn't really intended for general audiences, because it was supposed to just convince the studio to be hey, we can make a movie out of this. So they said that it's only slightly animated and it uses mostly camera movements over still pictures with some cutouts moving on the screen. And then they rushed through production, and literally the last day before the film rights expired, he paid people a dime to watch the movie, and then they gave him the dime back. And then they had to sign a paper signing a statement that they had been paid to watch a Hobbit film so that he could retain the rights. And then he sold the rights back to Tolkien for $100,000.
$100,000. 100,000 yen. 100,000 rubles.
$100. The ad said 3,000.
Where was I at? Okay, so he signed. He had the people sign statements that they got paid to go see a Hobbit film, and literally was he just gave him essentially a dime for it. Now I think this was an American company that did this, to my knowledge. So this was in dollars, whatever. But apparently, he was just trying to hold on to the movie rights, essentially. And so it was if I can make this rushed animation. So he did it really quickly, and then he eventually sold the rights back for $100,000 to Tolkien, so they got their movie rights back, whatever. And then apparently, because this is fairly recent, the guy that worked on it or something, they didn't release this information until 2012. So it was right around the same time that the live action Hobbit movies were coming out and stuff. So I'm going to show you guys a clip of this. It's all on YouTube, so if anybody wants to watch it, you can watch the whole thing. I don't know if you want to watch the whole thing yourself, but I will show it to you. Here we are. Start broadcast.
It looks like Rankin Bass.
This was Dale, the city of golden bells, in the time of Middle-earth, before men came to power and ruined magic forever.
Oh, what? They did! It's their fault!
And this is the Arkenstone of old, the white heart of the mountain.
It's a heart.
The central treasure of all the vast treasures of this golden realm. Suddenly, it was all destroyed by the monster lizard Slag the Terrible. Slag, The agent of evil.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I thought. It looks like a coup.
It looks like a.
I don't know if you guys caught it. His name was
Danny
Slag.
Elfman.
Now listen to this part here.
A watchman who slept when the dragon came creeping. Torin Oakenshield, general of the now destroyed garrison of Dale, and Princess Mika Milovana.
Princess Mika Milovana. So literally the only dwarf from the book still there is Thor.
Only the great wizard Gandalf can help us now.
What in the world?
He slept during the watch. It's his fault. They ruined magic. These losers. I'm glad their city burned down.
Sorry, that's gonna mess up my mic. I'm sorry.
Bells came to the lonely tower of Gandalf the Grey. So it has come to pass.
Gandalf's design.
That Dale has been
Gandalf looks like he's from a Tim Burton movie. I like it though. Yeah, it's unique.
Just as it is written in the great
I honestly like the art style for it, maybe even better than the other one. But he's kind of spooky.
The time of the Hobbit.
Okay, and then Hobbiton. Actually, I think it looks pretty good.
And treasure lived a certain hobbit. Like all hobbits, he lived in a hole in the ground. It was a very comfortable hole, full of everything needed for a cozy, secure life. A far different sort
Even
of
the
life
design
than
for the
that
Hobbit
of his
hole, it kind of looks a little bit like the movies, though, the way they did the tunneling look.
Hobbit
With
was named Bilbo Baggins, and he didn't know that his time had come. All at once they were there, eating his food, shouting for more, filling the air with terrifying words about dragons, fire, stolen gold, and death. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are all talking about, cried Bilbo Baggins. We are talking about you, said the wizard Gandalf. You are the chosen dragon killer. You shall lead this
see,
group
like
over
even
the
your
impassable
illustrations there, Isaac, it even looks more like that too.
Yeah, that's the old illustrations.
Desolation of Slag, to Lonely Mountain itself,
I know,
the
right?
horrid creature lies. You must creep into the deepest great chamber of the old jewel mines of Dale.
I don't know if we have time to watch the whole thing with you guys, so I might have to kind of pause it and skip over, but it is worth watching the whole thing on there. And the funny thing is there's a lot of lore changes. Like obviously they had the thing with Princess Mika, and it was like, okay, there's Thorin still there, but you have to watch the whole thing to get like the full grasp of it. Just because there's so
you
many
didn't even
funny
have to
things.
pay me 10 cents.
I know, like I would watch that for a dime, and then give me that dime back. I need it once you're done. So the funny thing is the one like weird little changes that they do, like instead of smog, it's like slag, and then like the way the guy pronounces Gollum, he's like Gloom, and then you when you watch it, Gollum has this like weird design where he's like big and fuzzy looking,
And he had cringed with his ring alone in the dark so long that he could speak only to his miserable self, Gloom. What horrid little nasty has come to steal our ring, my precious? We must squeeze it till it dies, yes? We durstn't let it take our dearest ring, Gloom.
and then
I'm getting Ludo from the Labyrinth vibes with this video.
Ludo or Ludo. So that's another movie we gotta review is the Labyrinth films. Yeah, the films, just the one.
Slap that baby, set it free.
Slap the baby, set it free.
Down, the goblin.
And then
down.
there's like other weird little differences. Like if you guys notice the Arkenstone looked like a heart. At the end of the film, I can't remember. I think it's Bilbo kills him, I think, or they all work together. But they use the Arkenstone as an arrowhead at the end to kill Smaug instead, which is kind of interesting, I thought.
Together with the others, he fashioned a powerful crossbow from old mining tools. And the Arkenstone, the white heart of Dale, was the arrowhead destined for the black heart of Slag.
But then it's funny because then at the end they it's like, and Bilbo fell in love with Princess Mika and they ruled over the kingdom together until eventually he decided he wanted to go back to Hobbiton. And then it shows like them going back to Hobbiton together. And it's like, and then it's like until his next adventure or whatever. But
And the city of Golden Bells was built again, and Bilbo and Mika reigned there together. But finally they returned to that quiet, comfortable life in Hobbiton, until the next time that Gandalf the Grey would knock upon the round, green door.
But you're like, but how does that make sense? Because he's not supposed to be the ruler of the kingdom and stuff. It was like really odd. But I didn't dig into it too much. But I just thought it was really funny because it was like a concept of like, here's what an animated Hobbit movie could look like. And then like pretty much 10 years later, it actually did get made into a movie, but it was completely different than like that one. And that I thought it was kind of cool, like how stylized it is. But like there's even weird little things like instead of them having trolls, they have these other creatures. They have like a different name too. And they're like tree people. And it's so weird because instead of it being like, oh, they turn into rock, they like start moving their arms and then they become like trees suddenly. And it's like, and they like turn into part of the trees of the dark forest or something like that. But yeah,
you know what? It's funny. It's terrible. It sounds like when a movie executive wants to like say like Voyage of the Dawn Treader or Star Wars or any of these movies where they like have the characters' names,
yes,
but then the lore has like nothing to do with it. It's like, well, we got this script that I really want to tell about with Princess Mika.
It's very much like that. Like if you Princess Mika, and it was like I didn't look into all of it. Apparently, they were like they didn't want Bilbo to be like a loner or something like that. So they were like, introduce Princess Mika, and it was like, who's Princess Mika? And bro, there's a whole part at the beginning. You watch the whole thing, but there's a part like when they first come in where Princess Mika comes in and she's like, "What, Bilbo? You're not going to go on this adventure?" kind of thing, something like that. And then, or she's like, "I'm going to go there by myself if nobody else comes with me." And then like Bilbo's like, "Oh, Gandalf, you can't let that beautiful woman go by herself. Like somebody's got to follow her there." It was like this completely changes his motivation to go on the adventure. It's just like, I'm going for the girls this time. It's like,
I wonder how many dimes did they have to pay to get the movie rights back?
I know, right? I know, right? How many people actually went and saw it? Like, was it like my cousin and my mom showed up and I told them, give me a penny? And then...
I went one. Does he only do business in dimes? 1 million dimes.
Like, why did you choose a dime? I was like, but yeah, I thought that was funny. But March of Dimes, yeah. He started a charity afterward. But yeah, I thought you guys would. I'd never seen that before. But it's available on YouTube. It's like 12 minutes long. But I actually watched it before the other one because I was getting things ready. I was like, what is this? I've never seen this before. And I dug into it. So that was like one of the other little animated Hobbit things. And then I figure once we finish, like obviously we watched The Hobbit. We have the War of the Rohirrim animated Lord of the Rings movie coming out. So I was kind of thinking like, okay, preparation for that coming out. We'll watch the animated Lord of the Rings movies. So
we'll have to do a head-to-head comparison. Which is better, the animated Hobbit or the War of the Rohirrim? Because that's the only two.
Well, hold on. So that's the thing. There's the animated Hobbit, and then there's an animated Fellowship of the Ring movie. And well, no, it's animated Lord of the Rings. But what happens apparently, I've not seen it before, but apparently it goes from the Fellowship of the Ring to the Two Towers, and then it's over with. And then the company that did it, I can't remember if it's. I don't think Topcraft did that one. It was another company, and they only ended it at like Two Towers. And I forget what happened. I'll look into it, but they didn't finish the story. They didn't do Return of the King. So then the company that did The Hobbit, I don't know why it zoomed me out. The Hobbit, the company that did The Hobbit, close up, guys. the company that did The Hobbit, apparently there was enough people being like, what happens? That they got the same company that did The Hobbit to make The Return of the King. So there's an animated Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers movie. And then the company that did The Hobbit came back to make The Return of the King film. But I don't know all the details of it, but apparently like The Return of the King, they cut out like Gimli and Legolas aren't in it. I think Pippin and Merry aren't in it either. But like apparently they like cut elements of it out, almost akin how they did The Hobbit.
So they just died in that
they
version.
just kill them off. Yeah,
they didn't get out of Helm's Deep alive.
I figure what we could do is we could do like a marathon of like the Lord of the Rings animated movies. We'll watch both the Hobbit animated movies. We'll watch Rohirrim next month when it comes out, review that, and then let's watch the other two Lord of the Rings animated films. We can figure out if we want to do it in one episode or two, depending on it. To my knowledge, they're a little bit longer. But yeah, are you guys up for it?
Yes,
yeah?
I agree. One thumb.
Yeah,
because I'm holding my mic and a bear.
2 dimes, please. How many dimes are you gonna pay us to watch all this?
I'll pay you guys both 2 dimes to watch the Lord of the Rings animated movies with me. How about that?
What I want to know how many dimes it took to make his mithril coat.
You guys got to hold me to it. Next time we do a review, like for the Lord of the Rings film, the item I'm going to bring in is going to be 2 dimes for you guys. Like, oh, what was the Lord of the Rings memorabilia you brought? I'm like, the 2 dimes that I paid you guys to go see the movie with me. But other than that, I'm trying to think. I think that's pretty much it for our review. So where can we follow you guys on?
Well, I make music with my band Vacation Samurai, which that music is on all music platforms. But my YouTube channel, which you can find me, is Adam Stay Tuned. Adam Stay Tuned is a YouTube experience. I make a wide variety of humorous videos, cosplay creation, and other things to hopefully put a smile on your day.
Yeah, that I got you, Isaac. YouTube and TikTok and Instagram as well, but it's a DubiousStew. Just post a bunch of random clips of stuff mostly.
Yeah,
so it's a lot of like YouTube poop level stuff, but it's funny.
Yeah, we'll have our different stuff. I have a lot on mine right now. It's just like anime clips. I have like one, I think, funny clip of my own. But
yeah, there's original stuff on there too, but it's just a lot of junk.
Yeah. So I'll probably post on our thing. I'll post all the links or whatever to our socials on there. But
and next time, laddie, we should all be in costume. Just saying.
we got to represent with our Lord of the Rings stuff too.
Yeah, I love dimes.
Just like come in the next podcast, like I got my dime shirt on.
I need my dime back.
So what do you guys take away from this movie? The 10 cents that I got. Well, all I can say, guys, is the greatest adventure is what lies ahead.
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break.
Resonates.
The greatest adventure is there if you're bold.
I feel like I should have a flag in the background of like a little Rings flag in the background. That was fun, guys.
I think I'm
quite ready for another adventure.
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said. The chances, the changes are all yours to make. The mold of your life is in your hands to break. The greatest adventure is what lies ahead.
Dude, you guys,
You hear the toes rustling.
you guys remember the part with the toes?
You hear the
There's gonna be
toes.
some toes wiggling on the mic. You guys hear the toes? This is gonna be the secret part at the end of the video, just to let you guys know.
But kids love bears!